The new and pre-owned watch world has never been hotter than it is right now. And with so many cool watches out there, it's hard to resist the temptation of buying new watches. And with so many buying and selling options out there, online, bricks and mortar, working with dealers, high street stores or private individuals, there's plenty to choose from. But the desire to save a few quid on a watch is pretty tempting, especially with eBay and Chrono24 both offering excellent marketplaces to buy from private individuals. But no matter where or how you choose to buy your watch, there's one common denominator that links us all together, and that is buying or selling. We want to stay safe, we want to buy with confidence, we want to have peace of mind, we want to stay protected. Now, many risks of buying and selling luxury watches are removed when buying from a professional, or at least they should be. But how do you reduce the risk of buying from individuals when there's so many scammers and fraudsters and counterfeiters out there? I'll tell you. If you want to protect yourself as much as possible when buying and selling watches directly from private individuals, you'll need to follow these tips. If you want to find great watch deals, cutting out the middleman can save a few margins and save you some money for sure. With private sales between members of the watch community, it does open up the opportunity to find good deals, but you have to be good at dealing with people and private watch collectors and private individuals. I know it can seem a little daunting and intimidating, especially when just starting out, but my goal here in this video is to make this process as safe as possible for you. It's worth mentioning that buying watches from the likes of Chrono24 and eBay, they both do an excellent job of managing the process and helping bring protection and peace of mind into the process for the buyer, because they act as an industry big brother. Because when you buy through Chrono24, they'll hold the money you paid in escrow and not pay the seller for several days. So this gives you time to inspect and check everything's okay with the watch and be sure you're totally happy before they release the funds to the seller. This after purchase breathing space can be very valuable when buying a new watch. And eBay offer their authenticity guarantee, where their version of Big Brother is the introduction of a process where the luxury watch seller will send the watch to eBay's authenticity center, who will check and inspect all aspects of the watch before sending it on to the buyer. This offers excellent peace of mind for the buyer and helps deter scammers from selling watches on the platform who are hoping to catch out unsuspecting victims. Now, these are excellent solutions from excellent companies attempting to bring safety and peace of mind to buyers. However, there are some watch buyers, collectors and enthusiasts who just want to deal with private sellers directly. Based on my 20 years of buying and selling watches and as a professional since 2017, here are my tips on how best to protect yourself when doing a private deal with a private individual. Now, it's important to know that even with these tips I'm offering, they're not conclusive. The end result will not guarantee a successful outcome, but I'm hoping to put the odds in your favour by getting you aware of the risks and helping you avoid some of the possible pitfalls by sniffing out the rats. You still need to be streetwise, act smart and be on your A game, because you may do all of this stuff and still not get the result that you need, so be warned. Number one, research the person you're dealing with. Ask the buyer or seller for their full name and ask what they do for work. Spend a little time on this. Hop online, go onto Google and search the person's name. And based on the information they've given you about themselves, you can do a little background check on the person. Your aim here is to determine if the person is who they say they are. In this day and age of social media, personal branding and discoverability, it shouldn't be too hard to check to see that that person aligns with who they say they are. So whether you're buying off someone who's posted a watch on eBay or Chrono24, or you've just found someone on Instagram or on Facebook, there's ways to connect with people that should bring you comfort. Ask what they do for a living, Google the person's name and town and see what comes up. Often with luxury watches you'll be dealing with professional people, so perhaps they're on LinkedIn or perhaps they even have their own website. Ask for their work email, it's better than their Gmail or their Hotmail email address. And the more discoverable a person is, the easier they are to find, the better. Who are they? What do they do for a living? Is there plenty of information on this person or hardly any? If you're dealing with large sums of money, you want to know exactly the person that you're dealing with. If you can't find out much about them, ask them, is there a way that you can verify them online somehow? Maybe ask for some sort of trade reference. And just be polite and tell them it's always nice to connect in advance so both parties can feel comfortable. There is an age-old saying in life, and not just for watches, you buy the seller And in terms of this video, you also buy the buyer. If the buyer or seller you're dealing with is decent and genuine, you're halfway there. Otherwise, you're doomed from the start. Number 2, try to actually speak with them. Finding information on the person online is part 1 of the discovery process, and part 2 is speaking with them directly. Ask them for a video call, a Zoom or a FaceTime or a WhatsApp or whatever. And the aim here is so that you get an opportunity to use your judgment on the person, build up a bit of a character reference on them. You want to try and get a bit of a perception of their reputation. You're looking for people that are genuine, honest, dependable, professional, trustworthy, people that work efficiently and effectively with integrity, and they're proud of their reputation. Fraudsters and scammers will probably try to avoid all this. Not some, but all. And if someone tries to swerve a video call or squirms away from it, then they probably have something to hide, and it's a bit of a red flag. Genuine buyers and sellers, however, shouldn't mind having a call with you. How hard is it to get them on the call? Is it easy or is it hard work? And when you do finally speak to them, how do you feel? Are you relaxed, positive, at ease, or for whatever reason are alarm bells ringing? Do you feel uneasy? Is something not right? We're all equipped with this wonderful little sixth sense to smell out a rat, so be mindful of your feelings and listen to your instincts. If alarm bells ring loud at this point and something just doesn't feel right, politely say that you've changed your mind and start looking for other options out there on the market. And there will always be another option, so don't rush or don't feel pressured into your first buying option. But whatever you do, don't set yourself up for failure at the start of this purchase or sale. Number 3, ask to see the watch live on the video call. And here your goal is at least to know that they really do have the watch that they're advertising for sale. You wouldn't believe the amount of people that try to sell watches that they don't actually have, and it's only when they actually get to sale that they quickly try to source the watch at a price lower than what they're selling it for. Of course, you want to be sure the person actually has the watch in their possession. Number 4, get a simple agreement signed. As a private buyer and also as a professional, when I'm buying a watch from a private individual, I want to be sure that they're the lawful and rightful owner of the watch, that they came into possession of the watch through lawful and ethical means, that they have the unquestionable rights to sell the watch, and that the watch is genuine, that it's authentic. So ask them to sign a simple one-page agreement. Get in touch with me if you need some help on this. Anyone with something to hide or anything to hide will probably squirm away from signing this and try to avoid this, whereas a genuine person shouldn't or wouldn't have too much of an issue with it. Okay, number 5, ask them for photo ID and proof of address, a utility bill or something. In our quest to sniff out the bad guys and get them squirming and running away in situations they're not comfortable with, ask them for photo ID and proof of their address, ideally a utility bill, a gas or electric or a broadband or a telephone landline bill. With this action, we're trying to secure things, so we know that if something goes pear-shaped on the deal, we have some backup and we know where these people live. Fraudsters will probably try and avoid this. If someone tries to swerve this step or squirms away, then it'll probably mean that there's something to hide and a big red flag. Again, genuine buyers and sellers shouldn't mind doing this. Just advise them that it's a standard part of your security checks and that you do this with all transactions and it's for everyone's peace of mind. However, in this step, you need to be prepared to respond in kind. It may be that they ask you for the same or something similar in return, and if they do, you have to be willing to cooperate. And I've done this many times before, and it's always a good part of the process. Alright, number 6, sending and receiving payment. And here we want to be sure that we get paid successfully when selling and that we pay the seller safely when buying. When you're the seller, make sure that you only accept bank transfer, which sometimes in the industry is called a wire. Personally, I don't like to deal in cash. I don't like the added hassles and risks that it brings into the process. Counting it, checking it's real, carrying it, depositing it. No thanks. I personally like a nice, simple, clean, efficient transaction, and having cash just doesn't jive too well for me. And when dealing with a private individual, ideally, if you can, no credit cards and no PayPal. Both can be risky for a seller. It's easy for people to scam and pull creative fast ones like saying the watch they paid for was never received, or say something was wrong with it, and they can call their credit card company and complain about the product or service or request a chargeback or something. It's just not worth the risk, in my opinion. And part of the reason for doing background checks on the person, especially when you're buying, is because if you're going to pay a wire to somebody before you get the watch in your hand, you really want to make sure that their reputation is worth more than the value of the watch. And what I mean by this is that the professional person will not want their reputation to be tainted because of a simple watch trade. If they've worked hard to build up a good reputation in their industry, they'll work hard to protect it, and they won't want it tainted in any way. An honest person will want to protect their reputation over a fast buck. And if things did go pear-shaped with the deal, it could cost them multiple bad reviews online, which can be seen in the public domain, and a genuine person will want to avoid this. If you're buying, then PayPal is very safe for buyers because you'll have 2 layers of protection, one from PayPal and the second one from the credit card company that you're using. Credit card payments are also a good way to pay to stay safe, as your credit card provider offers buyer security when shopping, and many people are not aware of the protection that is offered by your card provider. It's actually quite solid, and it'll help protect you if things go wrong. If you're paying in cash or wire, there's no chance of getting the money after the transaction is over. So that's why it's essential to deal with trustworthy sellers with a solid reputation. Number 7, have a watch specialist on standby to check the watch. If you're unsure about the watch that you're buying or the seller, then have a trusted watchmaker or an independent dealer on standby on the day of the purchase so that you can visit them when you get the watch. Ideally, if you can do the deal at the place of the expert, the watch dealer, so they can check before even processing the payment. This is a bit of a long shot, but if you can arrange it, then it's worth it. When buying a watch, if you can get sight of as much of the purchase paperwork as possible, you can see that it was purchased from an AD or an industry professional. That's a good first step. Paperwork can of course be easily forged, but what we're doing here is trying to reduce the risk. So once you've purchased the watch, if you have any doubts about its authenticity, whiz it over to the watch professional and get them to check it's authentic so that you can make informed decisions immediately after the purchase. Because the last thing you want to do is go to sell the watch several years down the line and find out that you've been wearing a fake all this time. Take photos and videos to center them so that you have physical evidence rather than just your word. You can also see if it needs to be serviced by having a professional check the movement and maybe time graph the watch and even check its water resistance. Again, we're building peace of mind here. Now please do me a favour, and if you're getting any value from this video, please like and subscribe just so that I know I'm doing okay. Number 8. Document what's going on. Make sure you document important matters with photo and video evidence. And whether buying or selling, it doesn't do any harm to take 5 minutes to photograph and video the watch before shipping it if you're selling, and on receipt if you're buying. Take videos showing the watch in good working order if you're selling, show it's keeping good time, and I even send a little time graph report, but not everyone has a time grapher. Show the condition, show the serial number if you can, show it matches the paperwork, and even if this is just for your own personal use, file the videos away in Dropbox or somewhere online so that you have them as proof if needed if anyone tries to pull a fast one on you. What you're trying to do here is avoid a your word against theirs situation, and having photo and video evidence helps to mitigate against that. Number 9, ensure your deliveries. Whilst most couriers and national delivery companies like Royal Mail and USPS offer basic standard lost package insurance, I sleep well at night knowing I have a third-party independent backup. I've shipped a vast amount of packages around the world up to now with no issues so far, touch wood, but it's wise to have things covered in case things go wrong. I personally favour shipping my watches with DHL with a backup cover with a company called Securisus. Others prefer FedEx or UPS or Royal Mail, but I've found the pairing of DHL and Securisus to be a winning formula for me. But be sure to follow their shipping rules in terms of documentation and boxing, protecting the watch in shipping, using their instructions, and follow their guidelines. It is worth it because if the package gets lost or something happens, you get paid out for the full amount. Couriers normally only cover up to a limited amount, £3,000 or £5,000 or something. So if you're shipping a watch at £7,000 or £20,000, you're exposed. If it's a really high value watch, I normally hand deliver it or arrange a special private courier. You could also potentially send the package to the recipient's local courier depot, DHL or FedEx or UPS, for the buyer to collect as a way to eliminate the risk of the receiver saying, it never turned up. And always choose express priority delivery, because there's less chances for the package to get misplaced or misrouted to a wrong depot, or being routed by 3 different depots taking much longer to arrive. It's worth the small extra cost, and you want to lower the risk where it's in your control. Number 10, stay safe if meeting in person to exchange. If you're buying, more of the risk is on them as they have the watch. And when I say this, I assume you're not paying cash, because if you have cash, then the risk is kind of shared and you're also exposed. If you're selling and there's no cash involved, then the risk is with you, as you have the watch and this could potentially be taken in a calculated robbery. So we want to put the odds in our favour as much as we can to ensure safety. One of the beautiful things about buying and selling watches is that you can pretty much execute the entire business process online nowadays without needing to meet or pick up or drop off. However, if you do want to or need to meet a buyer or seller in person to collect or pay or drop off, then think ahead and be savvy with the process. Think smart and be streetwise. If you're buying and you want to see the watch in person, or if someone is quite local to you and you want to meet them to pick it up or get the deal done, then you want to be the one that controls the meeting place. Arrange to meet in a predetermined public place, ideally where there's access to public cameras. Meet in a shopping centre or a nice hotel or a central coffee shop, perhaps even in your high street bank or your local police station. But don't meet in car parks or public parks. You want the comfort of people and cameras around you. If for whatever reason you do feel uncomfortable ahead of the meeting and you don't trust your contact, or you want to go with your gut instinct, don't be lured or tricked into something that you're not fully comfortable with. If meeting in a coffee shop or hotel, you could ask a friend to be inconspicuously sitting at the next table having a coffee, just to keep an eye on you. And if you're getting any value from this, please subscribe so you don't miss out on future helpful, informative, educational videos all about watches. Okay, number 11, be mindful of payment limits on phone app payments. And here you want to avoid long, drawn out, unexpected waiting times and delays to send or receive funds. Here in the UK, sometimes bank apps limit the daily payments to £5,000 or £10,000 or £25,000 maximum payments per day. And everyone's different here, so it's not one rule for everyone. Even going online via your PC or your laptop or your computer, and even telephone banking, that can have usually higher limits in an app, but there will be limits nevertheless that you need to be mindful of. It could be maybe £25,000 or something. In the past, I've gone with buyers to high street banks so that they can do higher value exchanges in the bank, in person. Check with your banking what their limitations are. I've had people buying a watch from me, eventually paying from different accounts, his and hers, and paying over different cards because the bank wouldn't let them pay the total amount of the watch. And I have had awkward and uncomfortable waits for many hours before, both on my side and their side, to receive funds because of unexpected delays. Alright, number 12, be mindful of banking security checks. Even if everything about the deal is genuine and above board and the buying and selling is all going through with good intentions, sometimes banks can slow down or even prevent transactions from going through. This could be because of security issues being flagged on either side, the person sending the money, or even sometimes the actual person receiving the money. I would suggest potentially calling the bank and letting them know that a large payment is being paid out or being received at around 3 p.m. on Wednesday or whenever it is for the purchase or sale of a watch, and that the transaction is genuine and with consent of both parties. Like I said, I've had uncomfortable hours before where either on my part or their part payments have been made but not received because of delays on their side or my side. It can be a bit awkward drumming away at a desk with your fingers, refreshing apps and online pages and calling banks and waiting. Just be aware that this can sometimes happen. And whilst we want and expect everything to be instant, it isn't always. Number 13, remind the seller to bring all extras that come with the watch. And here's a little checklist, not applicable to all watches but to many. The watch, of course, the inner box, the outer box, and this is often forgotten, any papers, warranties or guarantees that come with the watch, papers or cards, booklets that accompany the watch, a purchase receipt, original purchase receipt if they've got it, swing tags and hang tags, and any other accessories. Some box sets come with eyeglass loops or screwdrivers or cleaning cloths. You want to be sure to get it all, so be proactive here and ask and check. And please remember to like this video if you're getting any useful tips. Number 14, ask questions about the watch. Here I wanted to ask specific questions about the watch that you're planning to purchase, and the sort of questions you want to be asking are: when was the watch last serviced? Who was it serviced by? Is there any service paperwork? What wrist size will the bracelet fit? Check it fits your wrist, and you need to know your wrist size. Are all the spare links from the bracelet included? Has the watch ever been polished? Does the watch come with a warranty? Are there any visible defects on the watch? And here you're trying to minimize potential misinformation about the watch by asking these questions. If there are imperfections on the watch, ask for close-up pictures, even videos, to try and understand the true condition of the watch. Better to ask too much than too little in order to avoid disappointment and to make sure that your expectations are met in that magical moment when you open up the box. And don't be afraid to ask if there's a return policy as well, just in case you need to fall back on that. But when dealing with a private individual, this is unlikely, as things are normally sold as seen and often with no returns, but it's worth asking. Number 15, switching. And I'm sorry to have to mention this, but you need to be aware of it because it is a thing, and you need to be vigilant, alert, and absolutely on your A game. You need to be aware of things being swapped for things that you're not expecting. Real cash for fake cash, but if you're dealing in cash, please don't. And it's not impossible for the genuine watch that you've inspected at some point being switched for a copy watch that on the surface looks the same, but it's a horrible fake. Sadly, this is something you just need to keep an eye out for, and it's a process normally carried out by professional fraudsters. Number 16, if they arrive at your office or your meeting place by car and you get an opportunity to take their number plate, then do. This is just a little one, but it's worth doing, and it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. It can help you track down or locate the person if things go sideways on the deal. Number 17, get a video of the watch's serial number. If buying, ask the seller to send you a video and photos stating the date that they're sending these to you of the serial number of the watch, aligning it with this serial number on the paperwork. And of course, this needs to be a match. Number 18, check that the watch hasn't been reported lost or stolen. Once you have the serial number, it's worth paying to check that the watch has not been reported lost or stolen with the watch register. I'll leave a link in the comments. You can do this as an individual and you can do single one-off checks. Number 19, get paperwork confirming evidence of the transaction. If you're buying, get a physical and a digital receipt of the purchase. You want proof of payment, and as you're dealing with an individual, there probably would be a invoice generated by the system or a credit card receipt, and worst case, this could just be an email from the person confirming that you've received payment in full and confirming the amount. If you're selling, be sure that the person signs a delivery note, and even get a photo of the person with the watch. This is good evidence to have. Okay, last but not least, number 20, if you're unsure or lack confidence to deal with private individuals, then buy from a trusted seller. Personally, I think the best way to buy safely and avoid all risk is to deal with a well-known, highly reputable professional with plenty of feedback and has registered company details. Unless you have experience with buying from people and with watches, I personally don't think it's worth the gamble and the roll of the dice for the sake of a small cash saving. But I would say that because I'm a professional in the industry. And at the very least, perhaps enjoy the peace of mind that can be offered with eBay and Chrono24. Thank you so much for watching to the end. If you've got any tips that you can add, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from any experiences that you've had. Check out my website to see what watches I have for sale. Download the free guide that's there. And please get in touch if you have any luxury watches for sale. I'd be interested to hear about what you've got. Cheers, and see you in the next one.